get started. My name is Scott Fricker. I'm Platte County's presiding commissioner. I'd like to introduce the other people here today. Fellow Commissioner Allison Berberich, she represents District 1, which is the southern part of the county. Platte County Clerk Gerald Pruitt. BOE member Fred Boucher. BOE Chair Leanne Fadler. BOE member Tom Hussler. State Representative Sean Boucher, who represents a huge chunk of Platte County, and Platte County Recorder Christopher Wright. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it. So good morning and welcome. First of all, I'd like to apologize for any inconvenience caused by the ongoing construction here throughout the Platte County government complex. We're modernizing our facilities, and I'm proud to report that Platte County is wisely investing the $20 million we received in American Rescue Plan Act funds into these improvements, increasing the useful life of our historic courthouse without raising taxes. Unlike Jackson County, which has faced scrutiny over its ARPA spending, we're committed to transparency and to completing capital projects that directly serve our community. So, to get started here, thank you all for being here today to discuss with us a pressing concern. The Missouri State Tax Commission's unacceptable order to impose a 15% across-the-board increase in residential property valuations. This unelected three-person board appointed by Governor Parsons is trying to force a tax hike on every homeowner in Platte County. The Platte County Commission, our county clerk, and the Board of Equalization are united in opposing this unjust mandate. This order is the direct result of two issues. First, the county assessor, David Cox, refused to perform the mandatory biannual residential reassessment simply because he disagreed with the Board of Equalization's 2023 value adjustments to a very small fraction of residential and commercial properties. So because they made some very small adjustments that he disagreed with, he, for some reason, Mr. Cox chose this year to just not do his job, essentially thumbing his nose at the State Tax Commission. Secondly, and as a result of Mr. Cox's refusal to do his job, the 5 school districts in this county, which all seem to have an insatiable appetite for more and more taxpayer dollars, have been putting significant pressure on the State Tax Commission to force the county to increase residential property valuations across the board. These districts, particularly the Park Hill School District, have been driving this demand for more taxpayer dollars for years. Student enrollment in the Park Hill School District has been declining since 2020, while property tax revenues have surged from $124 million to $142 million. And despite a 30% growth in total assessed valuations from 2020 to 2025, the district has not reduced their tax levy rate, which has remained steady at 5.3955% since at least 2019. These districts are reaping massive tax increases, yet they still demand more from hardworking taxpayers. The State Tax Commission's response? Ignore Missouri's established data-driven reassessment process and impose an arbitrary 15% tax increase while stripping taxpayers of their right to appeal. This is not only unfair, it threatens the financial stability of hardworking Platte County families and should be unconstitutional. And as your presiding commissioner, I'm here to defend you and your property rights. We're pursuing every legal and administrative option to overturn this order and to ensure a fair, transparent reassessment process. I call on Governor Mike Keogh to reverse this decision and advocate for state tax law reforms that would prevent unelected bureaucrats from imposing such burdens. I urge all residents and elected officials to stand with us in this fight for taxpayer rights. Platte County deserves better, and we're committed to keeping your tax dollars where they belong, and that's with you. Thank you for your support, and let's fight this together. Thank you. Recorder Christopher Wright has a few comments that he would like to share. And then when he's finished, we can go ahead and open it up for questions, if you'd like.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Christopher Wright, the county recorder. I stand this morning joining with my colleagues to protect the property and homeowner rights of the people of Platte County. I'm appalled by the Missouri State Tax Commission's recent order to impose a 15% increase on residential property valuations across the county. As Commissioner Fricker said, this heavy-handed mandate combined with the irresponsibility of our county assessor, David Cox, it threatens to place an unbearable and unjust and unfair financial burden on our residents, particularly our seniors and low-income families who have realized the American dream of home ownership and who could be forced out of their homes by skyrocketing property taxes. In my role as the county recorder, who you entrust to follow state laws and to protect your homeownership rights, I strive to protect the interests of the Platte County residents. That's why my office has created one of the first in the nation deed fraud prevention programs, which costs nothing to you, because I am serious about protecting the people of Platte County. As Commissioner Fricker said this morning, we have to be clear how we arrived here today. Platte County is a victim of a broken tax system that needs to be fixed in the state of Missouri, but we arrived here because of the failures of our county assessor, who refused to do his job. This past weekend, a source gave me information concerning the residency of the county assessor. With that information and with public records and document searches in Escambia County, Florida, I was able to obtain that the information that was given to me was factual. And I alerted Commissioner Fricker this past Sunday of my concerns that the county assessor, who is a registered voter in the state of Florida, maintains what appears to be a full-time residence in Pensacola, Florida. This revelation to me raises serious questions about his commitment and his eligibility to serve the people of Platte County and about his accountability to the residents he serves. We cannot allow bureaucratic failures and external pressures to erode the financial security of the people of Platte County, especially our seniors and low-income homeowners, due to the incompetence, negligence of a single elected official who may or may not even reside in the county he is elected to serve, and by unelected bureaucrats in Jefferson City. Moreover, I ask Commissioner Fricker to take these allegations seriously and do everything he can to ascertain if the allegations are true or not. Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, we'll open it up to questions now. If anybody has any, please feel free to, do we have a mic you can pass around? If you have any questions, feel free to step up to this mic. If there are no questions.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
How much influence do you think that the assessor has compared to the board of equalization?
I'm sorry, I've got a hard time. Can you come up here where we can hear you a little better?
Yeah, I was just asking how much influence do you think the board or the assessor should have, over the fact of the board of equalization?
The assessor should have zero influence over the Board of Equalization. They're an independent body appointed by the commission, and they often, almost always in fact, disagree on final valuation estimates. It is not uncommon for the assessor and the Board of Equalization to disagree. But for the assessor to just throw up his hands and abdicate his responsibilities because he disagrees with the BOE is ridiculous. And so again, to answer your question, he has none and he should have no influence over the Board of Equalization.
And just to follow up on that, he's talked to plenty of us throughout the week, and you say blame the assessor, but for not raising property values, that he says he would help them to increase to avoid compounding what he calls an unfair situation, right? And what would you guys have done differently?
What is he calling an unfair situation?
I mean, just the fact that how things kind of played out in the 2023 assessment is pre-existing.
He said that the Board of Equalization took extreme measures in 2023, including reducing numerous commercial values to zero, essentially exempting them from taxation.
Okay, first of all, the number of properties that the BOE hears, the number of appeals that they hear on properties is less than 0.2% of the total properties in the county. They could reduce every property that they hear to zero, and it would have essentially no impact on countywide valuations, and the state tax commission would not get involved as a result of that. However, he abdicated his responsibility in more than one way. It's not only did he not reassess this year, but because he failed to convince the BOE that his valuation estimates were correct in 2023, he has since failed to make a case for the county during the appeal hearings. Typically what happens, and I know, I served on the BOE and I chaired the BOE, I know how this works. Typically, the homeowner will make their case, the assessor will make his case, and then the BOE will make a decision. In 2024 and 2025, he didn't even participate in the process. He essentially quit after the 2023 process when he didn't get his way on valuations. Who's to say he was right and the BOE was wrong? That's an opinion. The BOE has the right to set those valuations wherever they think it's appropriate. But for the assessor to completely quit representing the county's case in the appeals process and doing any residential valuations in 2025, it's really unacceptable. It is the source of the problem here. This is what caused it. Okay. Now, would you like to comment on that?
I will say that Commissioner Fricker's correct in that Mr. Cox would not permit his staff to participate in the BOE process. Some of the reductions that he's discussing were based upon what seemed to be a flawed theory. I won't go into the theory, but it had to do with taxing of exempt properties that were owned by the city of Kansas City. So it's very interesting that he would focus on those. I don't know what his interaction was with the State Tax Commission prior to those events. I think they had given him some opportunity to work with them, which he also declined. So that would be my response. Some of his theories were not accurate, in our opinion.
And just to reiterate this, the city of Kansas City owns property at the airport, specifically a maintenance facility for airplanes, as they are required to do to run an airport. The city is tax exempt. The assessor tried to tax the city under some theory that I'm not even familiar with, but that the BOE disagreed with. Okay, so when he says they reduced commercial property valuations to zero, well, they always were zero, he raised them under some specious theory that allowed him that he thinks allowed him to tax properties occupied by or owned by municipalities, and the BOE said no. I had many such disputes with him regarding nonprofits when I was on the board. This 67% reduction in commercial values is not an accurate way to project it. They were never valued at a higher amount.
Okay, one other thing that he did say was, he said values reduced by the board in 2023 included properties appealed by 2 of the 3 board members of equalization, including residential and commercial class properties.
Okay,
That's what he said.
I will let them address that, but I want to say that whatever happened in those cases, and I don't know, I suspect they were very legitimate. In fact, the BOE does not waive their right to appeals when they agree to serve on the BOE, or nobody would serve. they have the right to appeal to those properties. But whatever those valuation reductions were, they have nothing to do with the county's overall valuation problem as the state tax commission sees it. And absolutely not cause for abdicating your responsibilities as assessor. He has a history of holding a grudge, okay? He sees these little things happen and he gets pissed off and throws, it's like a little kid that says, I'm taking my ball and going home. That's what happened, and it has absolutely nothing to do with BOE's appeals on their own properties or commercial property reductions or any of that. Because you add all those numbers up and they don't account to a hill of beans, okay? We have 45,000 residential properties. This appeal board probably heard 100 appeals. Okay, that's nothing. Okay, they could reduce all those to zero. It would not have changed the percentage that we are below the 90% threshold. We are at 81%, I think. We would have been 81% with or without any of those adjustments.
I just have two quick questions for you.
If you want to, if you,
Just that, in those instances, there's only two board members are required for a quorum to make a decision. And the two individuals that Mr. Cox refers to absented themselves from those discussions. So that's very petty. I'll just put it that way.
My first question is, how long has the STC been working with the county to work this under evaluation issue? Do you know?
decades. This is a standard process. Many counties are below the 90% threshold. In fact, some are down in the 40s, okay? The way you continue operating is you do a biannual assessment plan, which says how you're gonna get to the 90% level. What is your plan to get there? Okay, and then you negotiate that with the state tax commission. And if you come to terms, you both execute a memorandum of understanding, which says basically, the plan is good, we're gonna follow the plan, and that's how we're gonna get to 90%. Well, when you don't even negotiate with the state tax commission for the MOU, when you don't even negotiate, they get pissed. And that's where we are today.
And my last question, sorry, is more of a lot of seniors, have reached out to ask. They're worried about these hikes, and so what kind of, can you explain to them about what's the next step for a lot of them that we're seeing tax freeze for on their properties?
Well, we don't know. The short answer is we don't know. The order to increase property valuations by 15% is effectively creating a new baseline value that we think cannot be appealed. Of course, courts will decide all of this. But if that's the case, do senior property values start at that, even though they've applied and been determined to qualify for the senior property tax credit? That's a great question. Something we've been talking about. Would be absolutely the wrong thing to do for the state tax commission for a lot of reasons. The seniors should not be impacted by this. They should, no matter what happens, they should get the valuations that they had when they applied last year for the tax credit.
And you said the Board of Equalization is appointed by the commissioners?
That's correct. Any more questions? Okay.
Yes,
Beth, I'm sorry.
I'll use the microphone.
Thank you. Some of us are
Okay,
hard
I understand that the county reported an overall residential assessment change of -7% in 2025.
Yeah.
Is that right? So would the 15% increase be from that point? So,
No, it would be, first of all, I have no idea where that number came from. The 7.1% the negative 7.1% valuation change, I'm anxious to find out where that came from. What does that mean? How do we reduce, when the assessor says he's gonna hold valuations at zero, which he said effectively, I guess, so I hear, it seems there should be no change. So we don't have the state tax commission's methodology when it comes to their annual market value, total market value calculation, or that number. So I don't know the answer to that, but I will say, since you're talking about the state tax commission order, it also says, and maybe this is your next question, but had the assessor agreed to sign the MOU and agree to a plan with the state tax commission, the order or the MOU was going to say that residential property valuations had to increase 8 to 10% in the year. Not across the board. Based on actual appraised values, based on real facts and data. So instead of accepting that deal, the assessor thumbed his nose at the state tax commission, and now we're stuck with a deal where it's 15% across the board. We could have had that deal, but we didn't get it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, man.
What's the next step from here? I mean, do you go to court now? Do you know when any of that?
Well, we're exploring all of our options. I actually spoke to the governor in person last night about this. He's very well aware of the situation. He is not happy with the action that the STC has taken. He's trying to get himself up to speed on his options. I suspect there will be some action out of the governor's office, or maybe during veto session, maybe there'll be a special session and discussion of this. I don't know. We're hoping for some sort of legislative action. Short of that, the commission may have some options here if we still have to explore. And we have retained counsel, so we expect to fight this.